Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we're trying something a little bit new and different, and I hope you like it. I'm often asked for help troubleshooting and developing formulations by my readers and viewers. Unfortunately, I don't have time to reply to all of those messages from everybody, but when I saw that makeup artist and YouTuber Robert Welch does a series of videos that he calls helping my subscribers with their makeup, I kind of had like a bing moment. So a couple months ago, I asked you guys if you would be interested in submitting your formulations for a similar style of video, and the answer was overwhelmingly yes. So I created a submissions page, which I'll link to in the description box below if you have a formulation you would maybe like to see featured in a video like this. And yeah, I've been accepting submissions, and so I have chosen one, and here we are. I was initially hoping to cover a lot more formulations than just one in a video, but I filmed that video and it was over an hour long and I still hadn't covered all the things that I wanted to cover, and so I thought, in interest of you guys probably not wanting to watch a full-length feature film, we would just do the one, and we could do a really good deep dive into that one formulation and sort of the style of formulation. So we can look at, what are we looking to achieve? What's happening? What's the problem? What are the formulation considerations? What are the types of ingredients that we use in a product like this? And how can we, adjust ingredients and percentages to meet the formulation requirements and to get to, where we would want to be. So before we dive in, if you're new here, my name is Marie Rama, and I am the me behind the Humblebee and Me YouTube channel, where we are right now, and my blog over at humblebeeandme.com. I'm a cosmetic formulator with diplomas in both organic skincare and organic hair care formulation from Formula Botanica, and I also have a Bachelor of Degree honors from York University. I share all kinds of formulations and formulation advice and information here on YouTube and on my blog. So it's a little bit like a cooking channel or a cooking blog, but instead of making soups and casseroles, we're making lotions and lipsticks. If you'd like to learn more, please visit my website at humblebeeandme.com, subscribe, hit the bell, and yeah, let's dive in. So the formulation that we're looking at today was submitted by Denise, and Denise is looking to create a stick cream highlighter. She described her product as a highlighting glimmer stick that I can use right underneath my eyebrows to give me a sparkling whitish hued glow. And when it comes to the problems that she's encountering, she's getting very poor color payoff. When she, applies the stick to her skin, she's just not getting the deposit of the whitish, sparkling hued glow that she's looking for. Before we start looking at Denise's formulation, I wanted to sort of zoom out and just chat about highlighter formulation in general, from sort of like a overarching, like, what's a highlighter? So a highlighter is a makeup product that is applied to the skin, usually at high points, so along cheekbones and brow bones. The tip of the nose is also quite a popular place to put it, or sort of in the inner corners of the eyes here, and it's designed to catch light, to add dimension to the face, and to give the skin some glow. So I definitely have some on now, and if you're noticing like a little bit of extra light catching on my cheekbones or inner eyes, brow bones, that's what's going on there. The general structure of a highlighter is that it's going to be the shimmery, brightening ingredients diluted in some sort of a base, so that when you apply it to the skin, it's not like, whoa, that's way too much. We want to dilute it to the level that when you apply it to the skin, you can get to where you want to be, sort of on your own, rather than just getting like shoved into Sparkleville with the first swipe of the brush or the stick. So the ingredients that make it a highlighter are usually sparkly or shimmery, so something like a colored mica or a glitter, and then we can also have a bit of a pigment in there that is lighter than the skin tone. So titanium dioxide is very popular because it is pure white, but for deeper skin tones, that titanium dioxide might be tempered with like a browns and yellows and reds of the iron oxides, just to make it so that it's not straight white, so we don't get an ashy look on the skin. Those highlighting ingredients are then diluted in some sort of a base, and what that base is made up of is heavily influenced by what the desired end format of the highlighter is. So if it's a powdered highlighter, either a loose one or a pressed one, the ingredients in the base are going to be mostly powders. So ingredients like talc, cerussite mica, and different starches tend to play fairly heavily in a powdery base. In a cream product, the base will be a blend of emollients and thickeners or hardeners to create a base that has sort of the right level of firmness and the right melting point. Now, what the right level of hardness or melting point is going to depend a lot on the formulation, so both its format, you can have a sort of a cream to liquid highlighter, something that would be packaged in a tube, almost like a lip gloss, where you have a wand that you would swipe on the skin. You can have it in a pen, you can have it in a stick, and each of those will have sort of different desired levels of firmness and melting points. With creamy bases, the hardeners and thickeners also play the role of keeping the pigments in suspension. So things like mica are not soluble, so they're not going to dissolve into a base of anything. So we need to keep them suspended, otherwise they'll settle out. Settling out's not the end of the world, of course. You can shake the product and it'll come back into suspension, but usually when we're making a cream product, something in a stick, obviously the stick part sort of precludes it being liquid. But yeah, it keeps the pigment in suspension so it's evenly dispersed throughout the product, so you get a reliable experience every time you're using the product. Since Denise wants to make a stick highlighter, I want to touch on a couple stick cosmetic specific formulation concerns, challenges, considerations. So the first challenge is that you need to be able to get the formulation into the stick. So when you are pouring a colored cosmetic that has pigments in suspension, it needs to be cool enough / viscous enough that the pigments stay in suspension as the product cools. They don't just sink to the bottom as it solidifies. But it also needs to be thin enough that you can get it into like a really small orifice. So if you're using something like a lip balm tube, the hole that you have to get the product in is quite small. You also have a lot of surface area here of colder packaging, and so the formulation can solidify as it starts running down the edges, which can make it quite difficult to get a nice even fill. You can kind of end up with air pockets or just really like wrapping the tube on your countertop a lot. So that's kind of one challenge. It needs to be thin enough to go in, but thick enough that the pigments stay where we want them. Another option for creating stick cosmetics is to use a mold. So this is my lipstick mold from TKB Trading. This was a gift from them. And so it's got 3 little cavities here and a lid. Basically, it's not really a lid, the cap part. And you fill these orifices, let it set up, and then you remove this part from the mold, and then you get these little nubbins, and then you can pop the little lipstick package on it and go, and when all goes well, when the lipstick has been properly formulated, the little bullet of lipstick will come out of there real nice. If the formulation is not quite right, the stick will just break off at the nubbin, which is a huge bummer. So that's sort of another consideration. If you're going to be molding the product in something like this, it needs to have just the right level of sort of slippiness and firmness that it'll just happily come out of the mold and doesn't just kind of go, I'm not going anywhere, and just stay stuck inside it. And then you have to dig it out with like a tiny little spoon, and it's a thing. It's annoying. So compared to using something like a shallow jar or a pan, the stick is a harder thing to formulate for. If you're pouring it into something like this, you've got a nice wide opening, it's a little harder to miss. You can basically just kind of give it like a little wrap and it'll settle out. And I found that when you're filling these, it often helps to sort of preheat the pan a little bit. Like you could put it on a cookie sheet in like a 150, 200 degrees Fahrenheit oven to preheat the pan so the product doesn't solidify as soon as it hits the cool metal. These are a lot easier to formulate for than sticks. Another consideration when formulating with sticks is that the product is being designed to be applied directly to the skin. We don't have the intermediary medium of fingers or brushes. So if we look at something like this is from Salt, New York. You're supposed to, apply it with a finger. So you pick the product up with a fingertip, or you could use a brush. But the nice thing about a fingertip is that it warms the product. It allows you to kind of get a feel for how shimmery it's going to be, how strong of a color it's going to be. So you have this intermediary medium of fingers that sort of allows you to control the experience a little bit more. Now with the stick, this one is a Fenty Beauty product. It's designed to go right on the skin. So it's a much more direct experience. Because sticks are designed to be applied directly to the skin, we are gonna wanna think a little bit more about how much color is put down than you might with something that's in a pan where you have the intermediary of the finger or the brush. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at Denise's formulation. So Over here, these 4 ingredients, these are our like active highlighting ingredients. So we have 1% Super Sparkle Glitter, 4% Purple Shimmer Mica, 2% Titanium Dioxide, and 8% Shimmering Clouds Mica. And so we can broaden that a little bit, so that's 12% mica, 2% titanium dioxide, and 1% glitter. And I looked up these colors online. The Purple Shimmer looks to be quite like a nice rich royal purple. The Shimmering Clouds Mica, assuming I found the right Shimmering Clouds Mica, is a sort of a cool shimmery white. And the Super Sparkle Glitter looked like it was an iridescent glitter, so it'll color shift a bit. You know, in different lights you'll get hints of like a pink or a teal or a purple or a lavender or something like that. For the creamy base, we have the emollients and the hardeners. So for the emollients, we have 20% of PEG6, caprylic and capric glycerides, 32% of CM1000, which is a blend of cyclopentasiloxane and dimethicanol, and we have 10% of cocoa butter. And then for hardeners, we have 17% cereblina and 5% carnauba wax. And then we also have 1% vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. So that will help extend the shelf life of a formulation by delaying the onset of rancidity. There's no proper preservative in this formulation because it doesn't contain any water and it shouldn't be coming into contact with water throughout its use. So let's take a closer look at those ingredients. So for the highlighting ingredients, within the micas, with the blend of the purple and the sort of white, I think we're going to get sort of a pastel-y lilac color there overall. We've got a bit of that iridescent super shimmer glimmer glitter, and then if it has color shifting to purple, that'll really nicely complement the lilac-y blend there that we've got. And then titanium dioxide is really white, and so it'll help lighten and brighten the skin a little bit. At 2%, I wouldn't expect that to be a crazy noticeable effect. It's just going to be, yeah, a little bit brighter, a little bit paler. So for the emollients, we have 20% of PEG6, caprylic and capric glycerides. So this is a water-soluble ester made from medium-chain triglycerides or capric and caprylic glycerides. And so it's a really lightweight, smooth emollient. So up next, we have 32% of this CM1000 product, which is a blend of cyclopentasiloxane and dimethicanol. So I did some research into this ingredient because I don't have it and I've never worked with it. It appears to be Bell-Sil CM1000 made by the Wacker Chemical Corporation, and they say Bell-Sil CM1000 is a blend of cyclopentasiloxane and high molecular dimethicanol. Due to its composition, it combines the properties of the low viscosity volatile cyclopentasiloxane and the extremely high viscosity dimethicanol. So we get a combination of an ultra lightweight, fast absorbing emollient with this higher viscosity dimethicanol. And so this product is described as being an extremely viscous liquid, and the instructions are to add it below 60 degrees Celsius, which is why Denise has placed it in her cool down phase. So the viscosity in the datasheet is noted as being 6,000 millipascal seconds, which is a measure of dynamic viscosity. So I went online and looked for some charts to sort of see what 6,000 millipascal seconds is viscosity-wise, and it generally seemed to be like thicker than the average shampoo, kind of around molasses, definitely thinner than peanut butter. And so because this product is quite viscous and we're using it at 32%, I would expect it to contribute some viscosity to the final product. And then our last emollient is cocoa butter at 10%. So this is a brittle smooth butter made from the same plant that gives us chocolate. Denise didn't indicate if she used refined or unrefined. The biggest difference there would be that the refined won't smell like chocolate, while the unrefined will smell like chocolate. At 10%, I wouldn't expect to notice much of a difference between refined or unrefined. The scent that you're going to get coming through at 10%, it would be fairly low. Because cocoa butter is brittle, this will contribute some hardening to the formulation as well, but nothing close to the amount of hardening that we're getting from our other hardening ingredients, which we'll talk about next. So we have 17% cereblina. Cereblina is a modified beeswax. The inky is polyglycerol-3 beeswax. So this creates ultra slippy, really rich feeling oil gels, very ointmenty type products. It's really cool. It is quite a potent thickener, and it can help with pigment distribution, which might be part of the reason that Denise chose cereblina over beeswax. And then our other hardener is 5% carnauba wax. So carnauba wax is quite a brittle, hard wax. I find that the thickening and hardening that it gives to products is quite a glossy, glassy one rather than a richer, creamy one. And so in combination with the cereblina, we get some of that rich, creamy gel sort of thickening, tempered with the harder, glassier thickening of the carnauba wax, which is great. I love combining different waxes to get the benefits of both. So between the cerebellina and the carnauba wax, we have a total wax content of 22%. That's a pretty good amount of wax. That's sort of similar to the amount of wax you would put in something like, say, a lip balm formulation, which of course is a formulation that goes in a stick, so I can totally see how Denise arrived at that number. So Denise described her process for this formulation as heating the cocoa butter, cerebellina, and carnauba wax together into liquid, predispersing the glitter, mica, and pigments in the PEG6 caprylic and capric glycerides, then adding that to the heated ingredients, and then adding the CM1000 and the vitamin E as the cool down ingredients before pouring the product and leaving it to harden. I love that Denise is pre-distributing the pigments and the micas in a liquid, because titanium dioxide especially can be kind of a pain in the backside to incorporate in things because it's quite clumpy, and so breaking it down can be really time consuming and a lot of effort. And if you are doing that in a base that already contains your wax and your hardeners, you have to do it over heat. And so you can spend quite a lot of time just like sweating over a water bath, stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring. And so I really like that she is predispersing it in the liquid ingredients, because that takes the solidifying off the table, gives you plenty of working time, and then makes the combining of everything just a lot less stressful. So I really like the looks of this formulation as a starting point. That CM1000 is going to ensure this product feels really lightweight and gorgeous and luxurious on the skin. And I really love the inclusion of a bit of cocoa butter, and I think that color blend is just going to be absolutely dynamite for nice, cool, kind of wintry, color shifting, face brightening loveliness. So for the challenge that Denise is experiencing, it is in color payoff. So let's look at some factors of a formulation that impact color payoff. The two main factors are how much color or how much mica, etc., is actually in the formulation, and then the other consideration is the melting point of the product. So when it comes to the amount of the shimmering, highlighting, brightening ingredients, I would say that Denise could definitely use more. So when I make cream highlighters, I'm usually using like 25 to 30% mica, and there's just 12% in Denise's formulation. So I think there's quite a lot of room here to use more mica and then get more shimmer and more payoff on the skin. The other factor is melting point. So because our shimmery, lovely ingredients are suspended in a base, that base needs to melt on contact with the skin enough to deposit some product. If the base doesn't melt, you're not going to be depositing product. Sort of vice versa, if the base melts faster than you would like, you're going to get a lot more color on the skin than maybe you were hoping for. So we're looking to balance melting point and pigment concentration. So if you have a formulation that has a low melting point that melts really quickly on contact with the skin and has high pigment concentration, that can lead to sort of over application of product and a difficult use experience. If you have a product that has a higher, slower melting point and a lower concentration of pigment, that can lead to very low color payoff because you don't have a lot of color in the cream base to start with, and then the cream base is also very slow to melt and transfer to the skin. It sounds like that's what's happening here. So usually you would be combining something that has a sort of a faster melting point with something that maybe has a slightly lower amount of color, or something that has a slower melt with something that has a higher concentration of pigment. And there's definitely sort of room on both of those to play and have a product that you're happy with before you start getting sort of outside of that range and making messes or having a product that just really doesn't work for you. So we did touch on this a bit earlier. Different formats of cosmetics limit the amount of product that you're going to get at any given time in different ways. So in a stick product, the melting point is a big part of that, but so is like the size of the product. If you have a stick product that has a very big sort of surface area, that is obviously going to deposit a lot more product than a stick product that has a very small amount of surface area. In powder cosmetics, we often press them because pressing the product, making it solid, makes it harder to pick up too much product. And then in loose powders, there's usually a sifter lid, so you can, again, control the amount of product that can get onto your brush. In liquid products, we'll usually have some sort of an orifice reducer in there so that, you know, when you pull a lip balm wand out of a tube, there's that little piece of plastic in there that sort of spatulas some of the product off the wand. So that's another way that we control the application of product. And then, as we discussed earlier, when a cream cosmetic is designed to be applied directly to the skin versus in a pan with, you know, the intermediate finger or brush, there's different considerations there. But with all that in mind, I think Denise probably needs to lower the melting point of her formulation in order to get more color payoff. By lowering the melting point and increasing the pigment concentration, you should definitely get a noticeable effect on the skin when the stick is swiped across the cheeks or the brows or whatever. So to lower the melting point of the formulation, Denise is going to want to reduce the amount of wax, so the cerebellina and or the carnauba wax. I would probably reduce both of them rather than just one or the other, but depending on how sort of Denise feels the formulation is trending, if it feels like it's maybe too glassy, you might want to start by reducing the carnauba wax more, and if she feels like maybe it's a little bit too creamy, then you might be reducing the cerebellina more. If we're increasing the amount of mica, something else to keep in mind is that mica is solid and it's not going to melt, and so that is also going to contribute to the hardening of the product, meaning you'll need dramatically less hardening ingredients. I shared a cream luminizer formulation that uses 30% mica and only needs 4% beeswax to make it solid enough. That said, holy moly, I cannot imagine ever getting that formulation into a stick because that high mica concentration makes it really quite viscous, really quite quickly. I put that formulation into something like this, a relatively wide mouth jar, and I remember it was a bit of a quick like zoop flump. And then tap, tap, tap. There was no way on earth that that was going to make its way into like a narrow tube. So with that in mind, we're now looking at, okay, well, we want more mica, but like a lot of mica could make it very difficult to put into a stick. You might want to look at including more potent pigments that aren't going to really impact the viscosity of the product. So perhaps look at including more titanium dioxide. So I still think more mica is probably a good idea, but maybe just bringing that up to like 18 to 20% and then maybe increasing the titanium dioxide up to 3, 4, 5%, because that's going to, titanium dioxide is a lot more potent. It's going to deliver a lot more of a kick. It's not shimmery, of course, it is just a matte white, but it would allow you to keep the powder content lower so that you stand a higher chance of being able to pour it into a stick package before it gets too thick to do any of that. All right, I think that is it. Sort of more color, less hardening, and then yeah, just sort of fine-tuning, turning some knobs and dials to get the formulation to, you know, exactly where you want it to be. Depending on how things go, you might decide that this formulation is better suited for like a pan or a little jar rather than a stick. But yeah, there's lots of room to play and have fun. If you'd like to learn more about the ingredients discussed in this formulation, all but one of them are included in the Humblebee and Me encyclopedia over at humblebeeandme.com, so I really recommend looking them up there to learn more. And if you love the idea of making your own makeup, I really recommend checking out my book. It's called Make It Up, The Essential Guide to DIY Makeup and Skincare, and it contains quite a few formulations for cream highlighters and powdered highlighters, and then all kinds of other things, blush and lipstick and foundation and just all kinds of things. I'm very proud of it. It is available, you know, on Amazon or really kind of wherever books are sold. I have provided a list of all the different places I found it online. I'll link to it in the description box below so you can check it out. Something else you'll notice is that I took Denise's formulation and she sent it through the form on the internet and I put it in a spreadsheet. Now I love spreadsheets. When you have spreadsheets and a formulation in percentages, it really allows you to analyze the formulation. So when I was able to say this one has 12% mica, whereas a formulation I've made that's similar uses 25%. You know, we have that really easy to compare this versus this. 'Cause if this was a teaspoon or 4 grams of mica and the other one was 8 grams of mica, that's not really telling us much unless we know the batch size, but we don't need a batch size to say 12% and 25%. Just percentages and spreadsheets are great. They really just allow you to understand formulations so much better. And whenever I'm analyzing a formulation, be it from a supplier or a reader, or going back to look at something that I've done in the past, the first thing that I do is I make sure that I have it in a spreadsheet in percentages by weights, because it's the universal language of formulating. If you want to learn more about that, I did an entire video and blog post on formulating and DIYing with spreadsheets, so I'll throw that in the description box below. And I also recently did a video on how to convert a formulation that you might have that is in weights or in like tablespoons and volume measurements into percentages by weights, so that you get great reliable results and you can really start to break down your formulations and understand how they work. Okay, that is well and truly enough of me talking. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please make sure you're checking out the description box below for more information. And if you liked this video, please leave a comment and give it a thumbs up so that I know that you liked it and I can make more. But yeah, whew, thank you so much. Have a very happy New Year's Eve, and I will see you guys in 2021.